Hey, good afternoon, fam. Good afternoon. Hope all is well with everybody. Hope all is well with everybody. Taking a quick break because my evening today is gonna be crazy, right? I'm going live in a few, and then I have a meeting with my team to go over some numbers and get ready for the last quarter of the year. So I just want to jump on here real quick, right? Because I want to do another talk in reference to why I believe renting right now probably make more sense than trying to buy a home, right? And one of the reasons why this came up, well, plenty of reasons, but I was watching a young lady on YouTube the other day talking about her and her husband that purchased this home. And for some reason, she just happened to look at the amortization schedule, which most people don't look at when they buy these homes, right? And she just happened to look at it, and she saw how much money was going towards principal compared to how much was going towards, interest and stuff like that, right? And she came to the realization that buying a house in America is a 100% scam. It's a ripoff, and I'll be the first one to tell you this, right? And I know a lot of people don't like to look at it that way. They look at it as you throwing money away by you renting, right? And I'm going to prove to you today that is the opposite. Because a lot of people just look at their mortgage payment. What they don't look at is how much they're paying over time in interest, and how if that money was invested properly, right, that money can actually change their financial landscape. The amount of money that they're putting into these mortgage interest wise can change their financial landscape. Okay, so that's what I'm going to go over with you guys today. And I was talking to one young lady who has a property. I've known her for a minute, and I said she's young, but she's a little bit up there in age, but she still looks young and so I call her a young lady, right? And she has a property out in the District of Columbia. That property is worth a little bit less than $1 million. Okay, and I said, well, if you sell it, how much do you think you'll get back? After the sale of the property? And she said, well, probably about $500,000. So I asked her, well, why are you keeping this property? Is your daughter gonna keep the house if something happens to you? She said, hands down, I know my daughter's gonna sell it and cash it in. Which, by the way, is what most children do. Just so you know, if you leave a property that's worth anything, these kids are going to sell it. You understand? I got my baby over there, about to pull off in a minute and go make life happen. But these kids are going to take these property and sell it and cash it in. Okay? So I said, well, if you was to sell that property now, because she has another property that she resides in, okay? So this one in the district is actually one that she's using for rental property, which, to me, she's actually come out of pocket more than she's making, because sometimes the renters don't pay. She recently had to evict some people a few months ago, but that took 6 months process, right? And she had to make that payment so her credit doesn't get messed up. So you're making the payment on your property, then you're making payment on this one that these people are now staying in. And then when they left her with a massive electricity bill. Okay. Then I spoke with her today, and now something happened with the plumbing, and over 20, I don't know, she said over 2,000 gallons of water. And I'm like, what? 2,000 gallons of water was lost. I said, how much is that bill? She said she don't know. Give me a second, guys. She said she don't know, right? That she'll find out. So I'm like, listen, man, You're 60 something years old. Why don't you cash that house in, put that money into a 10-year annuity that's probably going to give you about 7% return. By year number 10 or year number 11, you now have $1.1 million. You can start to pull income stream out from that of roughly, maybe, if you want the money to last you, maybe about a good $6,000-7,000 a month, which is more than you would be making from your rental property. And she's like, oh my God, I didn't even think that's a great idea. I'm like, there's no point of holding on to that house. It's bleeding your pocket. You know what's funny? Most people look at their house and they say, oh my God, look how much my house is worth, right? And by the time, if most people keep their house until they pay it off, what you're really getting in return is what you pay for that house plus interest, if it even accrues that much. So you think about it. You purchase the mortgage, you pay your monthly mortgage for 30 years, and then you still got to factor in maintenance and all these things. Most people are just getting really the return of what they put in. They're not truly making real money. It's not true money. It's not true money. So I try to educate people every once in a while. And I'm gonna take a quick sit down break for a second here. I try to educate people every once in a while and say, hey, look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. Are you really, see, when I tell you that the real estate industry, these salespeople, the Wall Street, right? They really did a good job. They are the master of selling. They are the master of the masters of the masters of selling. And they did a really good job in selling this whole mortgage industry to people, because they understand that people don't read. People don't read, people don't think. And once you understand that, you can control people. Okay? So when I try to educate people, they get mad at me when I tell them, hey, listen, instead of renting right now, instead of buying right now, why don't you rent and invest the difference? Okay? Let your money make money for you. And then go buy your house cash, where you owe nobody anything outside of your annual taxes that you have to pay. But the benefit of investing first, because of the power of compounding interest, you won't have to worry about your taxes, because the money you invested is making money for you that's going to help you pay your taxes every single year, even after buying your house cash. You can never do that the opposite way, whereas you buying a house now, working your ass off to pay it off, and then you pay it off, then you got to figure out where you're still going to get money from to pay the taxes. I'm going to go over some numbers with you guys today, right? What I did was I researched how much interest you will pay on 3 different type of loans in a 30-year period. And then what I did was I took the middle mortgage and I factored in that interest over time into a investment product that we like to call a index universal life policy. And the numbers will blow your mind. So what I did was I took a $300,000 home, which I don't know where they have those anymore, at least in the DMV. I don't even think those exist anymore, right? But a $300,000 home, right? The interest you would pay over time is going to be anywhere between $330,000 to $492,000 in interest. This is excluding the amount of money they gave you for the house, which is $300,000. So let's say you bought the house for $300,000 and you paid it off in 30 years. You would have ended up paying $792,000 total. $492,000 in interest. Okay, let's continue. All right, you took out a $500,000 home. In 30 years, you would end up paying over $697,000. And I use the word over because depending on what your interest rate was when you bought that house, you know what I'm saying? It could be, if you got a 7.7% interest rate, you could be well over $697,000 in interest that you end up paying. That's crazy. That's crazy. And then last but not least, $1 million. Because I have quite a few clients, probably about 10 clients they're high-end clients. Nurse, doctors, engineer, all of them are married, so they're paying the bills together, right? $1 million home, right? $1 million mortgage. You will end up paying $1.4 million in interest. $1.4 million in interest. Oh my God. Oh my God. That is your livelihood. That's your retirement savings that you're just giving away. The mortgage company is going to win. They know if you're financing with them, they are going to win. Because guess what? In the initial beginning, for the first 10 years, you're not even paying down your principal. They're collecting their interest up front. And they know the average person is probably going to default. Between year 9 and 12, the average person is going to default. And they're going to, guess what? Resell the property and start all over again. They know this. They know this. But yet, people still sign those documents without a plan. Now, if you're already in a house today and you're watching this, I don't want you to get upset. I want you to just get enlightened and just get educated. Because you can start to put together a plan as to how you can get out of this house sooner than later. How you can pay it off in 10 years instead of 30 years. How you can pay it off in 15 years instead of 30 years, right? Right? Excuse me, guys, it's like a little butterfly on me or something. Sorry about that. So, that is the plan. So I don't want you watching this. And again, I always say this. I am not against a house. I tour houses all the time. Houses are beautiful. Even if I was to buy one today and take out a loan, my intention is to pay it off in 5 years. I have no intention on paying the mortgage for 30 years. Can't do it. Can't do it. Okay? Now, what I did was, I said, you know what? Instead of you buying a house, and I use a 35-year-old male who's making pretty decent money. Let's say he's an IT person or doctor or nurse or engineer, whatever, right? Let's say they're making about 180 grand a year. Okay? I said, listen, instead of you buying a house, why don't you rent? They make these apartments so luxurious nowadays, so big and massive. My apartment is huge. My apartment is huge. It's a 3-bedroom, big old bedrooms. Living room is massive. Amenities, you got gym, you got a massive pool, conference center. Right next door to me is they have concerts there every other night. The park, they always have something going on. Okay, mall is across the street. You understand? They make it where you're not even thinking about buying a home. If I want to grill and invite friends over, there's an area for that. Right? So if you're making good money, I would suggest keep renting, living your life. And the difference that you was going to put towards that mortgage payment, or even the difference of what you would have paid in interest, let me show you what that would have done for you, right? So I use a 35-year-old male, okay? And I use a $2 million policy. And the reason why I had to use a policy that big, because the IRS know why people buy these policies in most cases is to put money away to avoid paying taxes later on. So they put a stipulation on there in reference to, so for example, a person can't just buy a $100,000 policy and throw $3,000 a month in there. Can't do it. Can't do it. So your insurance policy has to be insurance driven first, everything else second. Okay? So for this person to be able to do what I'm going to go over with you guys right now, the death benefit has to be a really big death benefit to allow this person to what we call max fund the policy, to give that person room to put extra money in the policy. So this person at age 35 will fund this policy roughly at about $2,500 a month. And the reason why I say that is this. Okay, cool. If you're renting right now, and let's say your apartment is $1,800, and you was going to a mortgage, and the mortgage was going to be $3,800, $4,000 a month, right? Keep on renting. That difference, throw it into your investment, into the IUL, right? And by the time you're 55, that's 2 years later, okay, you would have contributed $600,000. Now remember, I said the person who was purchasing a house for $500,000 would have ended up paying $697,000 in interest. Okay, and mind you, that person that buying a $500,000 house had to put a down payment down. We're not even talking about a down payment in this scenario. We're just talking about straight up getting the policy and paying your monthly contribution. We're not talking about putting $50,000 down or anything like that. We're just talking about just straight up getting into the policy and just start contributing, right? They would have put in $600,000, okay, into this plan in 20 years. By the time they reach the age of 55 years old, they will have a total cash value of $874,000. $874,000. Now, why is that important? If you buy a house for $500,000, your house will not accumulate for you $874,000 unless you bought a house and you got lucky. You bought a house in a prime neighborhood and everything around it changed and things like that, right? That's the only way. That's the only way. But guess what though? Even if that was to happen, to pull money from that property, you will have to be going into a home equity line of credit, a loan. So you will have your forced mortgage. Now you're pulling money out from your policy. From your mortgage to do things. That's a second loan. Okay? So that's why I try to tell people. A lot of people don't understand. Like they've been bamboozled by this whole mortgage thing. Now, going back to what I was saying, $874,000 $487 is how much this person will have in cash access. Now, can we agree this person can pull out $500,000 from this policy and go buy a house cash, and it will still leave them with $374,000? That's compounding interest. Okay? Now check this, is where it gets good. Now, that person let that $374,000 sitting there and just straight compounding. Now, by the time the person is 65 years old, they will have $1.1 billion in there. Because remember, so they only invested for 20 years. They put in a total of $600,000 and let the money just sit there. Right? They took out $500,000 to buy their house cash. Okay? And they left $374,000 in there for the next 10 years or so. And that thing is just compounding massive interest. Right? And now by the time they are 65 years old, it goes to $1.2 million. Right? Can we agree that that is not only a solid retirement income, and they never have to worry about paying their taxes every year because they got money from their policy that can pay for their taxes every single year, right? And then and now here's where it gets extremely good, because now let's say this person retires 65, they live all the way to their 90 and they pass away. Mind you, at 65 they start drawing income to live off of, right? And then they end up passing away at 90. $5 million goes to their family. Because remember, they opened it up with a $2 million life insurance policy. Okay? And then the remainder that's left in the cash value when they die, all of it now goes to the family. $5 million. I want somebody in the comment to tell me, if you buy a house for $500,000 and you put out a home equity line of credit, right, to live off of or whatever like that, right, and then you pass away, right, is your family gonna get $5 million? I doubt it. I absolutely doubt it. So listen, this is the education that they don't tell you. This is what the banks do. Listen, the bank know this stuff. The bank is praying that you don't know this stuff. Okay? The bank is praying that you don't know this. Okay? The bank is hoping that you don't run across a guy like me to give you this free information. Because this is information I should be charging for. They are hoping that you don't run across a guy like me to give you this knowledge that will save you a massive cost over time. Okay? And also help you build wealth for you while you're still living, and pass on massive generational wealth to your family. How you doing? To your family. Okay? So listen, again, like I said, I'm not against home ownership. I love a home. I'm gonna buy a home at some point. It's gonna be cash though. It's gonna be cash. It's not gonna be something where I'm financing and I'm just giving money away. No way. No way. There's no logic in doing that at all. You literally just giving the bank your livelihood and just say, here, take it. This is one of the reasons why most people are not able to retire right now in the United States of America. Most people have money tied into their home, and that money is not making them money. Most people have money tied into their home, and the money they have tied up in their home is not making them any money. So they end up going into retirement broke, destitute, and they end up dying broke. In most cases, most people end up losing their house before they die, because most people end up dying with a mortgage, and the people that they leave behind don't have the money to make their monthly payment, repair their house, and all this cost like that, and they most of the time let the house go, or they sell it, or they sell it at a loss, or they sell it, and by the time they sell it and they pay the realtors and taxes and stuff like that, it wasn't worth much. I've been doing it for 16 years. I see it all the time. So listen, I hope this message reached you well today. If you're interested in going over this in more detail, if you want to talk about this some more, if you want to go over that strategy plan that I just went over, text me at 443-208-5480. That's 443-208-5480. Or you can go to my site, which is TitanEvolutionGroup.com. That's TitanEvolutionGroup.com. Or you can email me at evolve@TitanEvolutionGroup.com. Outside of that, listen, I hope you guys have a wonderful and blessed rest of your day. I'm about to go back into the office, grab my bag, and go do my little runs and try to be great today. All right? And I hope you guys become great today too also. Have a wonderful one.